After day three of the first test in Rawalpindi, it's time once again to Ask George. We kick off with Ben Robinson, who asks, we can all agree that the pitch is subpar, but how much credit should England get for playing in a way that means a result is still possible?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Masses of credit. Just remember that, though, if Ben Stokes makes a bold declaration on day 4, because I think he will, and they go on and lose it, I think it's worth it, because I think that it could have been an absolute shocker, this wicket, this test. And I still think there have been some passages of play which have been quite hard work. But it could yet be really, really entertaining on the final day. So to conjure that possibility even at this stage is admirable. And it's not just about, obviously, it's partly about the way they batted. It's a lot about the way they batted. But it's their plans, it's their mentality. It's the fact that I think they will take a bit of a risk. And I agree that it's not the end of the world if you lose. A test like this could be really damaging for Test cricket, and the way that Stokes' England play could yet make it really entertaining. So yeah, full of praise.
Jack Rule asks, is it time to allow bowlers to make alterations to the ball to make it reverse in these conditions? England tried their best. That was one of the features of the day. England's work, Joe Root's particular work on the ball, wasn't it? What do you make of that sort of, ball tampering is such a hot topic, a difficult one to approach sometimes?
Well, I don't know that it is. I mean, there is a distinction about what you can and can't do, which I think is quite clear. But because when players say it isn't clear, like they're using mint stuff, it's pretty clear. In that you can have a mint in your mouth. You're absolutely allowed to have mints in your mouth and then use the saliva to put on the ball. You can do that. What you can't do is directly put the mint on the ball or go from, Anyway, we can't use saliva now anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant, but you used to be able to do that and it was quite clear. So they have lost another string to the bow of the variations they could use. I don't think we necessarily want a situation where they're using bottle tops or whatever, though. I just think that there's so many of the changes that have happened in the game have happened to benefit batters. And the big one in recent years, I think, was the undefined but effective banning of the doosra. The way that they changed the testing mechanism effectively stopped it happening. I think it was absolutely on purpose. I think that some world cricket powers got together and decided they didn't like it. And I think actually a doosra bowler on this surface would have been more fun. I think it would have been entertaining. I think there was a lot to admire there. Of course, you can't chuck the ball, but within the tolerance levels that were allowed, I think there was something there that was kind of brilliant. So I'm not sure that I would want you to be able to sort of alter the ball massively, but as in artificially using bottle tops or concrete or anything. But I think that we should have looked at, we should have been a bit more open-minded about the development of bowling and the development of the sport. And as I say, losing saliva in recent years has been another drawback. It's a weird day when, for a part of it, the most entertaining thing that happened was Joe Root shining the ball on Jack Leach's head. Although that is quite amusing for a moment, at the same time, you do wonder if that's the level of entertainment we're offering, we're in a bit of trouble, aren't we?
H asks, is Pakistan driving nations from touring if they're making pitches like the one in Rawalpindi?
Pitches like this happen everywhere. We've seen them everywhere. I mean, off the top of my head, Trent Bridge, was that 2014? Nagpur 2012, Melbourne 2016. There'll be, whatever it was. There'll be examples wherever you can think of. But it's not an ideal surface, yeah. I think it's a very old-fashioned surface. New Zealand, all the time. I don't think it's helpful. I think they need to look at it again, but I suspect it's not on purpose. As I say, I think it's that they need to invest. I think I said this yesterday. They've been starved of cricket for quite a long time and therefore starved of investment. They maybe need to invest in digging up a couple of these squares and relaying them. It's not, even if there is a great fifth day finish, which is still unlikely, but it's possible. I'm not sure that it justifies the way we've got there. I think I've said this before, that you can a rock fall can be terribly dramatic, but the attrition, the 5 million years of attrition that led to it, not great TV.
We spent most of the West Indies series talking about pitches as well. I remember Bonner batted for 10 hours or something ridiculous. I see Ramez Raja talking about pitches, said that yesterday it was going to be financially unviable to have, drop-in pitches and dig up pitches and stuff, and it would take probably until next year for them actually to be right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the situation that we're in, and that's disappointing, but there are all sorts of other possibilities. I mean, I think we should be open-minded about hybrid pitches. A few years ago that seemed unthinkable, but we're playing in England anyway a lot of white ball cricket on hybrid pitches, and I think it's been very good at some places. It's an absolute godsend. So, there's all sorts of things that could be done, but a lot of it costs.
Dave Studland asks, if we played a timeless test on this pitch, how many days would it last?
Well, you play a completely different style of cricket, probably, wouldn't you? And it would be extremely boring. So God forbid. But if we played 90 overs a day, how many have they played a day? They've got quite a few in, 85-ish probably today, to be fair. Is that right, roughly? They've got more overs in than I thought they would, actually. But if we lose 50 or 60 overs over the course of the game, which seems possible, that is quite a significant chunk of cricket, isn't it? So there's a reason that they've settled on 5 days. It's taken a long time. We've seen lots and lots of different shaped and sized tests over the years, and 5 probably works, but we're not really getting 5, are we? We're going to get 4.5. A bit frustrating, but you play a completely different way, and you don't want to encourage the timeless thing.
And finally, Ben Rigby asks, why won't they ban the Kookaburra Ball?
Yeah, I know what he meant.
No, just for clarity, we're across all subjects here.
Yeah. Sorry, that's tickled me. Is it?
We can get onto that another time if you like.
Ban all sorts of things. Ban the huntsman spider while you're at it. He said very bitterly, I got bitten by one in Australia, but I've been terribly brave and not told anyone about it. That's so not true. I told everybody. And I didn't react particularly phlegmatically at the time, as the huntsman would tell you if it could still speak. But it had a terrible accident with my ironing board. I honestly panicked. I was, to digress a little, I was working, I wasn't wearing a shirt, I was in my hotel room, and I felt something on my back, so I scratched my back against my chair. And that's when I realised it was huge. Anyway. So
you went with an ironing board?
I panicked.
That feels like a reckless weapon.
If I'd had anything else at hand. But I shouldn't have killed it. I should have put it outside. I feel bad about it. But the problem was it was so wet in Melbourne. My theory is that everything that lived in every nook and cranny instead came to my hotel room, which was very similar to a nook and cranny, and lived there instead. So I was sharing with quite a lot of creepy crawlies, but this one was particularly large. I've digressed a lot. Is it the Kookaburra? I don't like the Kookaburra either. But, the Duke's ball has had an awful year. I heard them saying on commentary, actually, at least, the Kookaburra ball goes soft. Well, I think there was a championship game where they changed the Dukes this year after one ball. So we all saw that happen, didn't we, in the last 12 months? They've changed the Dukes again and again and again. And while I do think it's a better ball, because for a start, I think it's round, which is and it swings for longer, all the rest of it, I don't think even that would have been enough here. And I think you've got to probably acknowledge that the England attack isn't ideal. Terrific seamers though they have, you would ideally, you would want some pace to exploit the reverse, and that is just about the only weapon that's available. So there's a reason that people like Shoaib Akhtar developed in Pakistan, probably. What we know is that bowlers find a way to excel in the conditions in which they're developed. And that's why Pakistan, I think, part of the reason why Pakistan developed so many fantastic quick bowlers, because if whatever your skills, if you're bowling a Jimmy Anderson, Ollie Robinson pace, it's really, really hard work. And I thought they were terrific today. And they got the rewards they deserved, and they've hardly bowled a bad ball, and they maintained pressure, and they did their job to the absolute ultimate of their ability. But I think you probably need pace with the Dukes, and in these conditions. And I'm not sure it would have made a massive difference whether it be the Dukes or a Kookaburra. I agree with the sentiment of the question. I think the Dukes is a better ball and creates better cricket, but actually they're talking about introducing the Kookaburra in the county game. They play with it nearly everywhere else. Is English cricket doing itself any favours to stick with it when no one else is? I don't know. My heart very much says yes, but my head, I'm not sure. I rambled there a lot, didn't I? You asked about kookaburras, and I talked about spiders and ironing boards and all sorts of nonsense.